Bruce Manning Metzger was born on February 9, 1914, in Dauphin County, Pennsylvania. He was born at Middleton, a town of about 6,000 people just southeast of Harrisburg, which had a rich Pennsylvania Dutch history. His father, Maurice R. Metzger, was an accomplished lawyer and served 2 full terms as the Republican representative for Dauphin County in the Pennsylvania State Legislature. As far back as Maurice can trace, the Metzger lineage had its roots in Holland, with Bruce's great-great-grandfather, Jacob Metzger, who upon his arrival to the United States became a farmer by profession and a Mennonite by faith. His mother, Anna Manning Metzger, was a descendant of the English shipbuilder George Manning. In the early mid to 18th century, Manning also took up the trade of farming when he arrived to the United States. Clearly, Bruce Metzger had an exceptional mind and an incessant discipline for study. But after a brief look at his father's educational background, there is little question as to where it came from. Being a lawyer, Maurice Manning was well educated. He received his early schooling in a one-room country schoolhouse and found at a very early age that he was displeased with this education. Consequently, Maurice was convinced that he must further this education, so he pursued studies at the local high school in Middletown. Maurice specialized in Latin grammar, and upon his graduation, he was valedictorian in his class. Shortly thereafter, Maurice began to teach at a country school not far from where he began his own education. He then enrolled in Lebanon Valley College and excelled through the undergraduate program, receiving his degree in only 2 years. He earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in 1907, and having a knack for the languages, Maurice returned to Middletown High to begin to teach Latin and German. From there, he went on to attend the law school of the University of Pennsylvania. In 1911, he was admitted to the Dauphin County Bar Association. Maurice would practice law for another 55 years before his retirement. One can see Bruce's mind and discipline were in many ways conditioned by his father's. Bruce would recall later in his autobiography reminiscences of an octogenarian that his father would challenge him in many areas academically. Further, Bruce eventually followed in his father's footsteps and received his BA from Lebanon Valley College in 1935. Bruce, however, would not pursue law as his father did. He enrolled at Princeton Theological Seminary and graduated with his Bachelor of Arts degree in theology in 1938. He would go on to receive his Master's of Theology at Princeton and additionally an MA and PhD in the classics at the university, which he finished in 1942. Gordon Fee once said of Bruce, while at Princeton, he met a young woman named Isabel Elizabeth Mackay. Isabel was the daughter of John Alexander Mackay, who was the 3rd president of Princeton Theological Seminary. John Alexander Mackay was very influential in the seminary's revitalization and rebuilding after the divisions of the 1920s. Bruce eventually married Isabel, and they would have 3 children. Their oldest, John Mackay Metzger, followed in his grandfather Maurice's footsteps and became a lawyer. His practice is still based in Princeton, New Jersey. James Bruce Metzger is a physician in Toledo, Ohio. Their daughter, Edith Metzger Boozer, still lives at Middletown. Isabel's influence on her husband is worthy of note as well. Bruce had a deep love and appreciation for his wife, Isabel, so much so that he dedicated his autobiography to her. Bruce opens with these words, "To his many students, this type of admiration is echoed about Metzger himself. Dr. Metzger taught more students in his tenure at Princeton than any other professor to date, many of whom remember him and praise him for his scholarship and character. Among them are names like David Friedman, Michael W. Holmes, and Bart Ehrman. Michael Holmes said of Professor Metzger, Dr. Ben Witherington in an article in Christianity Today, J.K. Elliott once said of Metzger, remembering Dr. Metzger shortly after his passing in 2007, another one of his students speaks to his character. Though I admired his scholarship and his encyclopedic memory, I was most touched by his graciousness. He invited students into his home for refreshments and conversation several times a year. He began every class with a sincere prayer for God's presence and inspiration. He listened with patience and careful consideration to every scholar. That's what he called us, MDivs and doctoral students alike, and always treated every opinion with the deepest respect. To this end, his character was well matched with his dress. Again, one of his last students recalls, "In his dress and conduct, he was the quintessential Eastern Ivy League scholar and gentleman, a bit formal and correct, and always, so it seemed, at least during the academic year, wearing a three-piece suit. Only twice do I recall seeing him remove his suit coat. Once when I visited him at his home when he was mowing his lawn. For this task deigned to remove his suit coat, but his vest he kept on. Another time he was assembling and gluing a furniture project, a grandfather clock from a kit. But soon as he finished up the joint that he was gluing, the coat went back on before our conversation could continue." In a tribute to Bruce Metzger, Christian author and pastor John Piper said, Notice Dr. Piper's wording here, his life. Bruce Metzger is surely remembered for his scholarship. Yet if we stop there, we are doing his legacy a disservice. We have seen that he has come from greatness, and he surely left us with greatness. Yet not just in the classroom, but also in his character.